Hi, my name's Phil. I like to talk about politics, and in this video I'd like to discuss what might be termed the latest plan for getting a Brexit deal over the line in the form of a review clause that would essentially mean that Brexit would become a never-ending series of negotiations, but at least we could get some agreements in place to limit the damage. But first, if you'd like to be notified of daily news and politics, please subscribe to the channel and click the bell notification icon. So the political problems with Brexit and the deal, of course, can be characterised by being aware of a few things. So on the one hand, you have what the Brexiteers call the hardline Brexiteers, the pure Brexit, which means no international agreements of any kind with anyone, but especially the EU. And on the other hand, you have EU membership. Now, those are extreme positions. The further we move away from the membership position towards the pure Brexit position, the worse it is for the economy and the people of the UK, or whatever is left of the UK by the time this historic self-own is complete. Secondly, we need to think that ideally we want a close relationship with the EU and the countries within the EU, but also one that looks like it's a bloody distant relationship. You know, it's a bit of an affair, secret affair. This is, of course, impossible. So we don't really know what to do. When I say we, I mean the government. Kicking the can down the road worked for a while, but we are running out of road. But it looks like someone may have found some more road to kick the can down. Now, this does not necessarily mean that we are likely to get a deal on the strength of this. There's still an awful lot of umming and ahhing about it. But there seems to be a plan that negotiators are trying to work on, which takes the form of, as I've seen it reported, a 4-year review clause, although the period of time could be variable, I suppose. Basically, it would mean arranging a deal, but reviewing it in 4 years' time. In other words, it's not a permanent treaty, it's time limited, much like the transition period. Now, remember the issue for the ERG in regard to the backstop last year and the year before. So it was not that the backstop would come into place when we left the EU. They weren't against that as such. What they were against was the idea that it would keep us permanently locked into the EU's customs union, because they knew full well that the arrangements that would have allowed us to leave the backstop didn't actually exist, because they were talking crap. As if it would be a bad thing to leave the EU's customs union in the first place. But it's that permanence that is the problem. Now, if you agree to something, even if it's seen as not really acceptable in general terms to the hardcore Brexiteers, but if it would be up for review in a few years' time, then it suddenly becomes more palatable to some of them at least. Now, that's not me saying that this is definitely a good plan and would absolutely work. However, it would reduce the opposition to an agreement amongst the Brexiteer crowd in the Conservative Party. Now, as I see it, there are actually a couple of benefits to the Conservatives for such an arrangement as well. So one, let us face facts, we're not ready to leave the customs union in any way, shape or form. I mean, leaving the customs union, even if we were ready, we would still see greater friction with trade, because, I mean, a customs union exists to reduce friction in trade. So leaving it, not having one at all, obviously going to increase that even if you are ready. But we are wholly unprepared. We won't prosper mightily without a deal. Even the Chancellor Rishi Sunak, who campaigned for Brexit, he's not one of these who campaigned to remain and then just turned around for political gain. He was in favour of leaving at the time for his various dubious purposes, but that doesn't matter. Even he could give no reassurances about the impact of Brexit next year. All he could say was, "Oh yeah, I'm an optimistic guy." You know, great, okay. So agreeing to something that removes a lot of the pain that we would otherwise be about to inflict upon ourselves has obvious political benefits for the party in government, and they will have to answer for the consequences over the next few years. The second thing, so when I saw this idea of a 4-year review period, oh, that's interesting. Unusual number. And then I thought, so what that means is you're saying that the arrangements would be up for review round about when we're having our next general election. Now, given that the Conservatives won the last general election based not really purely on Brexit, but it was the central theme, wasn't it? Certainly the slogan featured on every discussion. The answer to every question put to Boris Johnson was "Get Brexit done." What do you think about healthcare, Mr. Johnson? Get Brexit done. That's the best thing for healthcare. All right, great. Every question was, I think what will help that will be getting Brexit done. So they wouldn't half like to make the next general election about Brexit as well. After all, they did so well last time. But they don't want to make it about the consequences of Brexit. That'd be dreadful for them. So by not really delivering Brexit in any permanent form, you know, by saying that Brexit will come to another crossroads in 2024 and that only the Conservatives will choose the right path and deliver us onto the promised land, if we'll only just vote for them just one more time. And I know we said just vote for us one more time then, but I mean, just one more time and it's done. That will put them in their comfortable place. So politically, I can see a lot of advantages to Conservative MPs, especially those who won their seats purely on Brexit, and I'm not entirely sure how they're going to defend those seats, those so-called borrowed seats, on the usual issues. And the idea is also in line with the UK's proposal regarding fishing, because this emerges from the UK's proposal for fishing. So both sides know that they're not going to get agreement on their current fishing positions. So the UK government said, well, I'll tell you what, let's have just some sort of thing. We'll do quotas, but for a few years and we'll review it. You know, let's agree those quota rights, review it later on, and, you know, after we've got the deal. Now, the main issue here is that the UK want to negotiate quotas each year. But the EU, frankly, understandably, when given the way negotiations have gone for the withdrawal agreement and now the actual deal, have gone, Jesus, we don't want to negotiate with these bell ends for every single year for the same thing. It'll take them the best part of that year to get agreement, and then they have to start the whole hideous process, like painting the Forth Bridge. Only apparently that's not a thing now. But yeah, so the EU can't be arsed with all that, the constant headache. They would like to negotiate several years at a time. They're not saying permanently, obviously, but, you know, several years at a time, please. We can only take so much of you. And the approach to a review clause is also being reported to be very different for the UK and the EU point of view, as I say. So even if the outstanding issues can be agreed, even if it's just for the short term, and both sides agree to revisit it all in a few years' time, there is disagreement on how the review clause should be managed, if it is at all. So the EU want to extend it to the general economic relationship, the whole thing, the whole shebang. They are keen to avoid falling into the trap of agreeing anything that involves the UK cherry picking what it does and doesn't want from the deal, because this is what a lot of the disagreements have come from, essentially. The UK wants to pick and choose aspects of access to the EU's market. A little bit like, to use the gym membership metaphor again, it's a little bit like someone saying, look, I don't want to be a member of your gym because I'm not going to use that or that or that. I just want a bespoke deal that lets me use your rowing machines. Whereas the EU want a deal that covers everything. You know, it's like, look, do you want to use our facilities or not? Essentially, that is their position. So although this concept could end up being part of the political solution that unlocks the path to a deal, the positions still have some distance between them. But like I've said before, we've now passed, I mean, we've passed all the deadlines for arranging a deal properly in time for the end of the transition period. So anything we do get is going to be a bit of a fudge anyway. As such, I don't think there's any reason to suppose that an agreement has to be formed immediately. I don't know, because now there's another one they're talking about. So the EU Parliament have agreed to a special sitting now on the 28th of December. Very decent of them, I've said so. I can't see our lot agreeing to sit on the 28th of December. But now they're saying, well, look, you know, I mean, we're pushing it. I mean, we could do with an agreement by next Wednesday. I mean, that's this coming Wednesday. But even that's not a hard deadline. I don't know. So maybe we'll get an announcement on Monday. Maybe we'll get an announcement on Wednesday. Maybe we'll still be dragging this on by Christmas. You know, even just the thought of it has me inwardly chuckling in a sort of gallows humour sort of way. Because going back to the general election, so a lot of people voted Conservative last year. They didn't do so because they were in favour of the party in general, or even in favour of the party's Brexit vision, but just because they were, I'm not saying the majority, but a significant number, were just so sick of Brexit, so sick of the process dragging on, and the Conservatives took advantage of this. They said, look, you know, it's a bit like torture. Just sign this to say that you did it, and we'll stop torturing you. And it was just, look, vote for us and we'll get Brexit done. And so these people, just so sick of it going on, that's what they did. They believed that voting for the Conservatives would finally close the lid on Brexit. We could all move on with our lives, repair relationships, heal the nation, all that crap. How many of them, I wonder, imagined that a few weeks before the end of 2020, we'd still have no idea what Brexit was going to look like, or even whether we're going to get a deal or not? And if part of the solution is a review clause, how many would have imagined that we'll still be talking about Brexit and what Brexit's going to be and getting Brexit done come the 2024 general election? I don't think that would have been on their minds. And this is to say nothing of how they'd have imagined putting up an internal border around Kent, lining the roads with portable toilets, turning open spaces into giant lorry parks, making it illegal to trade in sausages, and adopting policies that make even a US trade deal impossible. Now, that's Brexit for you, of course. I mean, anyone who thought voting Conservatives would do anything other than massively complicate the issue may need to reflect on that and perhaps remember that in a few years' time, do we really want them to con me again? We'll have to see. But those are my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comments below. I hope you found the video interesting. If you did, don't forget to click the like button. And if you'd like to support the channel further, please also click the Patreon link for details. And until next time, I'll see you later.